We're ready for Game Lab number 8. And in this little adventure, you're going to make your own sprites. And the previous assignment, you dug into the sprite library and you investigated a little bit and you put some sprites on the screen, made a little scene out of sprites. Now what we're going to do is look at making our own. There's a handful of drawing tools and things like that you can use to build your own. And that's what I want you to dabble with a little bit today. It doesn't have to be anything super complicated, but I want you to try it. So we're going to use the Game Lab drawing screen to create a scene that includes sprites that you create yourself. So let's take a look. You're going to have at least 3. Create them on the animation side, and then you write the code that will make them show up on the code side. They don't have to have a theme here necessarily. I just want to see you do it. So just got to make some stuff and then make it show up. Do put a little bit of effort into it. Don't just like draw a box and then say, okay, I quit. You can do better than that. But they don't have to be super complicated either. I don't want this to turn into something that takes you forever. That's not my point either. Include all 3 of your objects in the code that you write, and all you have to do is make them show up. I got a couple other notes here about how the creating sprites process works, but I'll show you all that stuff over here on code.org. Let's do this first. Let's take a look at one that I previously did. I'm going to go ahead and run this, and I made the Pixel Avengers, right? I've got Captain America and Iron Man and the Hulk. And over here on the animation side, you'll be able to see them. Now, what I did here was I drew what's called like a wireframe. And you can see it in the middle. It's just made out of basic shapes, and I didn't fill anything. And so I made this wireframe. Put that together, and then I duplicated it. That's what this button right here, there's a button. When you make something, you can duplicate it and then use it again. So that could help you. I don't know. But there's a duplicate button right there. So I duplicated the wireframe, and then all I had to do is come along and add some details on each one. Like there's a fill bucket, which I'm going to show you in a minute. And so I had to fill some things and paint some things in and draw some things. And so I made Captain America like that. And I made the Hulk like that. And I made Iron Man like that. So, they're not perfect, but they were kind of fun. All right, so that's one that I already did. But how's this going to look for you? Well, okay, you're going to click on the Game Lab and get the whole thing started. You can pull the draw loop off. You are not going to need it once again today. I would recommend you head straight over to the animation tab first of all. You're going to click the plus sign right here, and then when it comes up with the options that you see on the animation library screen, today what we're going to do is draw your own. So go to that button right there. All right, your first one's kind of up and running. Now I want to show you something about the dimensions here. This looks like a nice big screen to draw on, and I'm just going to take the circle tool and draw a big old circle that almost fills all of that. And then I'm going to take the bucket tool and I'll come down here and pick a color and I'll fill it, and I'll just call this, I got to show you this real quick. I'll just call this dot, and I'm going to go over here to the code side, and real quickly here, you need to see this. All right, so I did that thing where I brought over the create sprite and the set animation. I called it dot, and it is the dot that I just created over there, and it's at 200, 200, and so I run it. Oh, I didn't put draw sprites in, my bad. So you always have to go to the world drawer and drag draw sprites over here, and you only need one of these. A lot of you on the previous assignment had like 5 of these in there. Nope. Don't need 5 of them. Just need one. Okay, now here's, I don't know if this helps or what, but over here, that dot looks so big. It looks so big, it was like filling up that whole square. And then you go over here and you run it, and it's only that big. All right, well, so here's what's going on. Let me just show you real quick. Over here, by default, when you first go into the animation tab, way over down in the bottom right-hand corner, it's telling me right here that the grid that I'm looking at is 100 by 100. It's kind of scaled up, and it looks like it's really big, but it's not all that big. It isn't. So you just have to keep that in mind. If I draw something on that default grid that fills up the whole thing and I think, oh, it's going to be really big, maybe not. It might not be that big because this box that I'm looking at, that I'm drawing in, is only 100 by 100. Here's a way, though, that you can change it if you wish. If I add a new animation, I'll click Add New Animation. I'll say Draw My Own. So again, I look down here in the bottom corner and it says 100 by 100. All right, well, there's a button here, and I'm pointing to it right now. It's way over on the right-hand side. It says Resize. Okay, and then I get this option here for width and height, and I could make this so that I could work on, there's a little checkbox here that says Maintain Aspect Ratio, so all I had to really do was change one of them, and it changed the other one. And if I just press enter there, see, it doesn't look like anything is any different at all. But let me just show you real quick here. Just stick with me. Nobody's going to die if you have to watch for a minute. All right, just kind of watch this. So I'll make a blue dot. Boom. And again, I did the same thing I did before. Yeah, I made it pretty big, right? It's kind of filling that whole thing. And I'll call this B dot because it's a blue dot. All right, so let's go over here to code. And once again, real quickly, I'll bring over, I'll call it, I'll say it's dot 2. And we'll set this animation and we'll say dot 2, and dot 2 is going to be the blue dot. And when I run that, oh man, look, it's big. Now, I didn't scale it or anything. The difference is the size of the box that you're drawing in. On the red dot, I just left it at its default size, 100 by 100. On the blue dot, I changed its size to 400 by 400. It doesn't really look any different. That's a zoom factor that's happening there, but you might need to be aware of that. You just have to kind of think your way through some things as you're creating. Oh, by the way, what I just accidentally did there, if you roll your mouse wheel in and out, you can zoom in and out on the drawing canvas. All right, now, so what I've got to show you here, though, is a little bit more about these drawing tools, and then it's going to be up to you to kind of do your own thing a little bit. All right, so I just hit the plus sign again, and I said make your own. And I don't want just like a red dot and a blue dot. Now, you can make faces. That would be okay. You have to make 3 different ones. And you could make something like this and then put eyes and mouth or something on it. That would be all right. But don't just draw a dot and then say, okay, that's it, I'm done. Come on. You use more creativity and imagination than that. And I'm only going to show you a few of these tools over here so that you begin to feel like, okay, I know what's going on. There's a circle tool. I do want to show you this. If you tap the right bracket key, oh, make a liar out of me, why don't you? I think it works. Yeah, there we go. I got it working. Sorry. If you type the right bracket key on your keyboard, you can make this like the outline, the stroke bigger. This is the pencil tool that I have right here. And so I'm out here just kind of dragging with the pencil tool. And by tapping the right bracket, I can make it bigger, or tapping the left bracket, I can make it smaller. See, I just made it a little bit smaller. And I can change the color down here at the bottom. You can change the color of it. Okay, all right, so there's a pencil tool right now. Control-Z will undo things that you did, so I'm going to do a lot of Control-Zing. There is a vertical mirror pin here that will do some mirroring, kind of like this. See what this is doing? It's a vertical mirror. Would that help you? You know, you want to make a butterfly or something? I don't know. But that's that tool right there. Is a vertical mirror pin. I'm going to undo that. The bucket tool is for filling areas that you've drawn that have a boundary. If you have a hole in your boundary, it probably won't fill. But I could draw like an oval or a circle like that, and then I could come and get the paint bucket tool, and I could select a color down at the bottom, and it will fill any area that has a boundary. And just to show you a little bit more about that, if I go back here and I once again go back to black and draw like a boundary like that, and then go get my paint bucket tool and get a color. There, you see what I mean about the boundary, right? See that? It's only filling in that area where, get some red here, there we go. So yeah, if you have a boundary, you can fill, and that will take care of that. Now, fills all pixels of the same color, I believe, works like this. If I draw, let's say I draw like a box here, and just use the regular old flood fill, red. And then if I go fill pixels of all of the same color, and I get like a, I don't know, I'll get a blue color, and I go, bam. So I clicked on, that meant that anything red was going to get changed. Does that make sense? Undo. All right, so this is fill all pixels of the same color. I have blue selected, and if I click on anything red, then anything red is going to get filled with blue. Bang. It's kind of it's handy for a color changing situation. If you think, okay, I've used a color and I kind of want to change it out, so you could do it that way. All right. The eraser tool, I think, which should be pretty self-explanatory. You can erase. Just take the tool and erase areas. By the way, the gray and the two-tone gray checkerboard that you see around everything is transparent. That's transparency, just so you know. Okay. There's a stroke tool, a line tool, where you can click, drag, let go, and it draws lines in whatever your current color is. Right? You can have a color. You can use that bracket trick that I showed you. Left bracket, right bracket, to make your brush, whatever you want to call it, your pen, your brush, bigger. And so there you go. So there's a stroke tool. There is a rectangle tool, and that's I think pretty self-explanatory. It draws rectangles. It's only going to draw the outline. If you want that filled in, you're going to have to take the bucket tool, the paint bucket tool, and fill it in. Same thing is true with the circle tool. Draw a circle, and then if you take your fill bucket and you can get a color that you like, and you can fill it in. Yay. All right. The hand tool, the move tool, will move, if it'll move the whole thing around, right? So if you think, well, I want to just adjust this a little bit, you can kind of, it grabs everything on the canvas, unless you have something selected. And I'm going to be real honest with you, I'm not great at the selection. Like so I used this shape selection tool, and I selected that. Now I should be able to take, well, when I switched the hand tool, it took it off. But I can move just that, yes. But here's the thing, and maybe somebody's going to tell me how to do this. See, well, here's what happens for me. I move it, and then does it? Maybe it tells me. I don't know. Hold Shift to move the content. Do you have to hold Shift? Boom. No. Okay, so if you hold Shift, but see, now the color's gone. So I haven't completely figured that one out, and you can maybe help me with that. Rectangle selection, you can select part of something like that, but again, I've not really had a whole lot of luck with it. And the same thing is true with the lasso selection. So yeah, not telling you not to use them, but figure it out, because I unfortunately don't have a whole lot of great advice for you. I haven't had much luck with it, and you may have better luck because you may be way smarter than me. All right, color picker, right? Now that one is pretty handy, because if you want to match a color, you can click on that color, and now I have a match of that color. And so if I go to draw anything like a circle or a rectangle or whatever, it's a match of the green that I clicked on with the eyedropper tool. The lighten tool, I've not really ever used it, to be honest with you. Oh, okay, I just rub over. I kind of rub over the area and it lightens it up. Okay. Dithering gives you kind of a checkerboard pattern over whatever you work with. Probably works with the color that you have picked at the time, I'm guessing. Yes, it does. So dithering kind of does a checkerboard pattern. So anyway, that is a fast run through on, you probably didn't think it was fast, but it's a run through on all the tools that are over here that you can use to make things that that you might need to make when you're creating a game or you're creating an animation. And so what I want you to do is make a couple things. Make a Christmas present. Make a little tree. Make a fish. Make, I don't know, make some like kind of little stick figure. Make a face. This is what you see on here right now is a bunch of gibberish. Don't do that, because I was just playing with tools here, and that's all that is. So I want more than that. I want some planning, some thought. You got to put a little planning and thought into this. And I also don't really want something like, I'm just going to make a blue circle. Yeah, no, you can do better than that. Make it a face. Put some eyes on it. Put a mouth on it. Get something going on there. All right, so I don't want to make this drone on and on forever. I wound up making these as an example. And then the other thing you would have to do, like I said, once you get all done with creating them, is you got to come back over here to the code side, and you have to write enough programming. It doesn't have to be a ton, but you got to write enough programming here to get them on the screen, to make them show up. Now, in this example with my Pixel Avengers, I put some text commands down here, and that was just me having fun. I just did it because I felt like it. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. But do remember that your draw sprites command has to come after you have your create sprite and your set animation. Like here's Captain America. I called it CA for Captain America and set it equal to the cap animation that I created. So you got your create sprite, set animation, and I got my X and Y that I wanted right in there. 100, 175, and then for the Hulk it's 300, 175, and then for Iron Man it's 200, 250. All right, so anyway, so that's the kind of programming you have to do. There really isn't that much programming involved in it. Okay, so that's it. Time for you to jump in and have at it.